Shen.
You want to see? It's a gift. Oh, it's your parting gift. In that it will part you. Part of you here, part of you there, and part of you way over there, staining the wall.
You insolent fool!
You are no match for our kung fu.
I agree. But this is.
In a world of monsters, do you want to combine ancient magic and modern weapons to create monsters of your own? Or maybe you think all those drafty old wizards enchanting swords and bows are thinking way too small in a world that demands huge vision. Or maybe you just want to forge the souls of the dead into necrotic machines of war. Well, the Siege Mage can do all of this and more. First thing you have to know before making a Siege Mage in Pathfinder is that this is gonna get expensive. And you're giving up an enormous amount with this archetype. So if you're not very certain that the DM is gonna give you access to siege equipment, you may not want to go with this one. But if you're going to be in an environment that you can flourish, then this archetype can do some really nifty stuff. The Siege Mage is a wizard archetype, and it's all about dealing with siege engines. These are weapons of war used to batter down enemy fortresses and do all kinds of damage on the battlefield. These are great for fighting some of the larger threats that D&D can throw at you, and siege engines are just plain a lot of fun. First, let's start with your race. I'm going to recommend Classic Human. Your most important stat is obviously going to be Intelligence, followed by Strength and then Constitution, because this mage is meant to be in the thick of the fighting. Also, before we get too far into this, I want to talk about your skills. You're going to need to prioritize Craft Siege Engine. This is going to allow you to build and repair the siege engines that you're going to be using. Then you're going to want Spellcraft. This will allow you to do things like crafting constructs, which is very important to this build. Alright, now let's talk about the features which make the Siege Mage what it is. At first level, you're going to be giving up your Scribe Scroll bonus feat in order to get the Siege Engineer bonus feat. This gives you proficiency with siege engines, and you're not guaranteed a mishap if you roll a natural 1 when using your siege engine. The Siege Mage will also get Siege Engine Bond. This replaces your Arcane Bond. Within 30 feet, if you have line of sight with a siege engine, you can forge a magical link with it like you would a bonded item. This link allows you to remotely aim and fire the siege engine, and at 10th level, you can reload, aim, and fire it. You can use this ability for a number of times per day equal to your intelligence modifier. And as far as I can tell, this lasts until you move away from the siege engine. Next up, you'll be giving up your cantrips, although you will have access to Detect Magic and Read Magic as first level spells. In exchange, you get Empower Siege Engine. This means that as a swift action, you can sacrifice a prepared spell to empower the next attack made by the siege engine. This gives a bonus on attack rolls equal to the level of the spell cast, and a bonus to damage equal to 3 times the level of the spell cast. So, sacrifice a level 2 spell, get a +6 to damage. Sacrifice a level 3 spell, get a +9 to damage, so on and so forth. Finally, you'll have to take Siege School. You'll be taking 3 opposition schools. And if you're going to prepare a spell for your opposition school, you're going to need to sacrifice 2 spell slots to do so. And you take a -4 penalty on skill checks made to craft magical items that use spells from your opposition school. The opposition schools I recommend you take are Enchantment, Illusion, and Divination, as you're not going to be using them as much as, say, Evocation. And Transmutation is very important when crafting constructs. Alright, now I want to talk to you about animated objects. An animated object is a type of construct. Basically, it's when an inanimate object is being brought to life, or as close to life as a construct really gets. Okay, now, theoretically, if you animated a siege engine, it's still a siege engine, but it's also a construct. So your Empower Siege Engine ability should still work with it. That's at least a good argument you can give your DM. Alright, now you probably want to know how exactly you go about turning a regular ballista into an animated ballista. A good way to go about it, I think, is first building the normal ballista, and then going about transforming it into a construct. Let's start by talking about crafting a siege engine. Crafting a siege engine requires a DC 20 craft check. And I've got some sample siege engines and how much they're going to cost you. A light ballista is going to cost you 250 gold. For the record, it is a large category piece of equipment and does 3d8 damage. A standard catapult will cost you 400 gold. It's a huge category object, and it does 6d6 of damage. A battering ram, which is huge, will cost you 500 gold. And a fire drake, doesn't that sound exciting? It's kind of like a hose for alchemist fire that you can wheel around the battlefield. Will set you back a whopping 2,000 gold, but it does 66 of fire damage in a cone. Alright, so, once you've managed to get your siege engine assembled, how exactly do you make it into an animated object? Well, first off, you're going to need the craft construct feat, which I'll get into when I talk about the feats I recommend for this build. You'll also need to be fairly high level at 11th caster level, which is the minimum for crafting animated objects. Once you've met both of those prereqs, you're going to need the animate object spell and the permanency spell, which wizards can get when they get access to 5th level spells. Alright, now let's talk about the animate object DC. When you're crafting a magical item, there are some requirements, but not all of them are strictly required, if that makes sense. The only things you actually need are the craft construct feat and to be the appropriate caster level. And every additional requirement that you don't meet increases the DC by 5. And unfortunately, the animate object spell is not on the wizard spell list. If you're lucky enough to have a cleric or something who's willing to help you build this abomination, you're golden. But assuming you have to do it all yourself, the DC is going to be 21. That's 5. Plus the base spell level you need to be, 11, adding up to 16, plus 5 more to 21 for not having animate objects. Now, considering you'll be level 11 at this point, this should be a very, very easy roll for you to make. Oh, and creating this item will take a number of days, 1 per 1,000 gold of the item's price. Probably the biggest deciding factor on what type of siege engine you want to make into an animated object will be price. They vary by size category. A large category siege engine will cost you 6,250 gold to animate. A huge category siege engine will cost you 15,500 gold to turn into a construct. But trust me on this can be absolutely worth it. Animated objects get these things called construct points. Large category ones get 3 construct points, and huge category ones get 4 construct points. These allow you to buy enhancements for your construct. As an example, you can get additional movement for 1 construct point. This gives your construct a new movement type, such as flying, burrowing, climbing, or swimming. So imagine, if you will, a flying ballista, or a swimming catapult, or a burrowing battering ram. Next up, there's improved attack. One of your construct's melee or ranged attacks does damage as if it was a size category larger. That will cost you 1 construct point. For 1 construct point, you can also make your animated siege engine faster. It will increase its base movement by 10. Another fun one is metal. This does pretty much what it says, makes the siege engine out of metal. Its hardness will increase by 10. Hardness basically works like DR for animated objects, and its AC will increase by 2. Another fun thing to do, which will actually give you an additional construct point, is giving your construct a flaw. My favorite flaw is haunted. This means that there are malevolent spirits inside of your construct. This basically means that they can take damage from positive energy, and they can be detected with Detect Undead. Alright, finally, I want to talk about the feats I recommend for this build. Since you're human, you get a bonus feat at first level. I recommend you use your first level feat and your bonus feat to take light armor proficiency, then medium armor proficiency. At 3rd level, take craft wondrous item because it's a prerequisite for craft construct. At 5th level, you'll be receiving a wizard bonus feat in addition to your regular 5th level feat. At 5th level, take Arcane Armor Training. This will let you make use of those armor proficiencies you took. And for your bonus feat, I recommend you take Craft Magical Arms and Armor, because that is required for Craft Construct as well. Then at 7th level, you can finally take Craft Construct. And it's a good thing too, because at 7th level, that's usually the minimum caster level for most of the constructs that are easy to make. So you can start making things like Iron Cobras if you're interested. At 9th level, take Arcane Armor Mastery. This will let you decrease your chances of spell failure by 20%, and will let you make use of things like medium armor. I highly recommend the breastplate for this character. And if your DM is being ridiculously, and I mean ridiculously generous, Mithril Full Plate. If you can get it, wink wink. At 10th level, you'll receive your second wizard bonus feat. I recommend you take Arcane Builder. This is an arcane discovery. It's kind of like a wizard-specific feat, basically. What Arcane Builder will do for you is you'll select one type of magical item, in this case constructs, and you can craft this item 25% faster. And you gain a +4 bonus on spellcraft checks for creating said item. Finally, for your 11th level feat, I'm going to recommend Intensified Spell, which will increase the amount of damage that your spells will do. Alright, finally, I'm going to give my 2 cents on spell selection. Obviously, since you're probably going to be getting involved with some battles at some point with your siege engines, like you do, I'm going to recommend Evocation because there's just no substitute for fireballs and lightning bolts. And if you're so inclined, you might want to think about dipping into the necromancy school, in case you want to man your siege engines with literal skeleton crews. The ethics of that are highly questionable, but the results will probably be exactly what you want them to be. Thank you for watching this character build from D6damage. If you're interested in more class analysis, character builds, and strategy guides for Pathfinder and D&D, check us out right here on YouTube. Thank you for watching.